Hi, this is Bernie here. Again, Connections Consulting. It's the day of video making in our administration. We have a process we work each week, have a couple days of administration, then about 3 days of customer focus, and then a day of training videos on our internal training website. The Badco timeline as well has internal training content we don't show. Badco meaning no one is good. All have fallen short of the glory of God by his standard. And it says in Ancient Scriptural Pro, all have sinned, all have fallen short. So we make that known as we teach in our ancient scriptural ways, the ways of doing things right, the pros of handling customers right, keeping them coming back, keeping them eating out of your hand almost, that they love you as a company, they well doing with you, they want to do more. And it's all that. So that's my 6 day process, and they're all interspersed. You don't have each day segmented alone where there's nothing else going on. Often you have to overlap, interchanging and communicating phone calls, emails, and stuff. So, but that's kind of the standard. There's a way to do it. And, if you find out a neighbor or someone you're working with, or even a bad customer who you haven't dealt with wisely and appropriately, and they're taking your time the wrong way, sometimes there's time robbers. We have to manage our time well. Well, that's afforded to you, whoever you are. You can do that. You can learn and grow every step of the way. But, I like to think in abundance thinking where you get along well with others. You take time out sometimes. You have a coffee with somebody, and it's more the often than the not. It's more the, someday when I get time. It's not that. And lots of people, I think, make that mistake. That's why relationships have flaws and don't work. People tend to be time robbers. No, I can't interrupt my schedule. I can't interrupt what I got to do. And sometimes that's just the way it is. I know that. I like to try to and hope and always pray for it that that's the 10% of the time, not the 90, because I value human relationships, and I'm taking everybody with me on the direction I'm going. I want to build Connections Consulting to be the multi-conglomerate, everything it can possibly be across this universe and beyond, so to speak, as we go globally around the work of this earth and purport into eternity. And I'll talk to you next about some of that stuff, about the rewards after life and in this life, in our job function and stuff, people in general. That's the main point I wanted to get to. But Leap is the book. And, we have this conference that we got planned for next year in Africa, our purpose-oriented coursework, the 3-week Kilimanjaro climb for anybody that's on our Gold Thrust membership or who wants to join in an appropriate customer element. You can just get in by joining and work from there into a deeper Gold Thrust portion of the company and the reward system we have. You go, and it's 3 weeks on Kilimanjaro, which apparently right now is on fire, and much of the ecosystem, I understand, is being damaged. I'm purporting we pray for rain in the Good Samaritan Pro Elevator Prayer Pro group of our company, the humanitarian side. We got to get this world working again. What's happening? It's fallen to its knees, eh? And then that was a 5-week venture for any of our loyal customers who want to set out on that safari type journey where you commit that time and come on that appeal of that adventure. You go spend a couple weeks in one of our 3 potential destinations, Somalia, Rwanda, or Burundi, on a retreat mission. And then, actually, I had the time frames backwards. Sorry, that was the opposite time frames for each of those halves of what I mentioned. It's the 3-week retreat. And then you wrap up with a weekend layover somewhere in all of that, either in the middle, I suppose, probably not at the end. And that would be just enjoying and relaxing life around the beautiful Nairobi, Africa, with the beautiful, just dining and out and enjoying the company of others. And it's an awesome place. But with this saintly year we've been on with COVID, it might not happen. Lots of plans have not come to pass. I was supposed to be and scheduled to be in Hawaii this week on a mission cause with others, teaching in the great corporate, communicating to other companies. It didn't pan out. I'm thankful I got a customer that's come into the link for December. That part of the plan for the year is happening, so that's good. But, you set forth in a year, who knew COVID would hit? Like it came in from China, I suppose, like they were saying. And last week of February, then all of a sudden there's 8 people dying in Seattle or 6 early March. And I mean, we didn't know. Nobody knew. You cannot plan for these things. So if you start your business plan for the year as a good business person and you set forth on 10 things, I suppose, and so you're getting 2 or 3 of them done, I think in a year like this, you're doing well. I still need the funding, from our federal government, like everybody, the fair treatment for the fair Canadian here. But the leap is you. Get this book. And this is Eckhart Tolle and Steve Taylor, The Leap, wake up in your spiritual psychology, your spiritual self, your spiritual man, your spiritual person. That's a good book. Go get it. You might not be joining me. I guess we'll see next year what happens now, how long this is all lasting, and then with the fire. But it destroys it's like if you're only one building you're training in and it burns down, I guess you can't hold your training course, can you? Unless you do something different. So we'll see what happens, but you may want to go on that. That's a good recommendation, a good book. And there is a chapter I would like to equate to you. It's chapter 4 or something like that. Let's see here. It talks about natural awakefulness, and then it talks about confusion and integration. So when you're integrating into things and starting the flow of new life, and like for example, I'm getting my new system down that hockey's done, trying to watch a little bit of football, getting a flavor for the NFL I've never had. So you're getting a new habit, a good habit in place. I don't like when people use the word habit and they forget to put bad on the front when it's a bad habit, what they're talking about. Habits are good. Routine is good. System is good. Process is good. That's how we get things done. It's like religion almost without all the bad pros of it. It's the good stuff, right? Well, 9 times out of 10, we don't want to break out of our system. In terms of the overall week plan, right? So that talks about if you know you're supposed to do something and you're working the process and you're working the plan, I suppose. Confusion is when you already know and you knew and you heard what you're supposed to do. You've invented it, your plan. You came down with the idea. You extracted it off the cloud on your iPhone, I suppose, or in prayer. You heard it from the Lord, whatever. And then you're about to set forth, but you don't do it. For whatever reason, you come up against a block. You're blocked and you're in a blockage. You're hitting a ceiling into that next level you want to be in, or there's a stumbling block ahead of you. You can't get by. It might be just in your own mind because you've never done it before. It's a first, and a fear factor is coming in. But then the point is you start to doubt what you're planning and what you're supposed to do. So you go into confusion. And that's what that chapter's about. If you only read one chapter in that book, and I've done this with some books, I've just read 1 or 2 chapters, complete book. A lot of it was repeat. I'd already learned it. Many of you are like this, I'm proposing, I'm sure. So spiritually, I know people are awake. They've heard the words, the good teaching. Now it's the doing them behaviors. And sometimes, the spirit is willing, but the flesh can be weak. We got to, as we do this and we're going forward every week, we got to think about how can I get that done, even if it's not the old way I used to do it. There might be a simpler way to do it. Maybe I need somebody's help, a vesture, a partnership. And I want to give the millennials a good note on that in a second here. But, or maybe I'll do that on the next video, I guess. Read that chapter. It says in ancient scripture, then in the book of Samuel, I believe I read it, Confusion comes basically just what I said in that long paragraph of words when you don't do what you're supposed to do. You know better, you know the right way you're supposed to do it, but you decide not to do it and you oppose it and you actually start going in opposition, choosing other things where that isn't even going to get you the same result that you're actually setting out to do. You're either directed by your leader at work, somebody in your company, maybe your mother if you're a child. You know, maybe you're just felt like the Lord showed you you need to do this in your prayer of yourself, daily life leadership, Good Samaritan. Well, that is known as witchcraft because it's disobedience to what was asked of you or you planned to do because you have to do it to survive, maybe even. And it's a good thing, whatever it is, you're supposed to do it. And witchcraft isn't just in Bible times they burned the witches. It's not just the Wicca people in some closet praying, speaking curses against you as you walk by down the hallway or something, whoever. It's actually this. It's a factor where you're not doing what you're supposed to do. We all have things we got to do, healthy and fruitful things every week, and it's challenging. But you know that hard thing that might be the challenging thing is what you got to do for the next level of breakthrough. And I'll talk to you about that in a moment in the next video. And you know you should. If there's time wasters going on, I've spent all morning talking to you about a bunch of things that are ad lib to get to the one thing I really want to tell you, and I'm going to tell you that next. And I've made time for it all. But sometimes if you don't have time for it all, you got to get the time wasters out of the way. And I can show you like a little 7-minute pros on how to do that at another point in time. So you're managing time effectively. And I give you a few hints today on that. But that's up to all of us. It's our responsibility to do things well, whoever we are, and you want to do that. So, you know, it's you look at your life and you measure it, right? How am I doing, right? And you figure out ways to make it better. So we'll go from there. Psalm 91 I talked to you about is that Avengers shield, like the Avengers movie, all the superheroes, the Avengers shield over you. How's yours working? Are you keeping it there? I hope so in this time. Keep your Avengers shield over you. And, you know, the millennials are coming up next here. I got a comment. We'll talk to you here soon in a minute. And actually, one closing thought. Smart Pro, smart, specific, measurable, and realistic, attainable, realistic targets. Smart. Okay? So as you're setting goals, you don't want to do more than you can every week. You want to do what you're supposed to do. Because we're all in a humane society and we can't push people farther than they can go. And sometimes I honestly feel like that too, that I'm being pushed too far and too hard by people. And I try to help and make things work, but we can't go off track either. Sometimes there's new opportunities. We go off and get a new opportunity like many of us might need soon in this economy. But just remember that if you haven't heard it before, and I'm sure you have, quite a few of you, smart, measurable, specific, measurable. It's the word smart, S-M-A-R-T, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic targets. Those are your goals. You're aiming the target. Like one of my very first videos I did, and I had the Canada dart and the target and showed you, you know, what are you aiming at? If you don't know what you're aiming at, what's this all about? You're aiming at a good future and a good afterlife, I suppose. So that's up next. Connections Consulting, CCI BM, wconnectionscon.ca.